Hey folks, welcome to Thursday Night Live. I am currently fighting with my desktop, trying to get Linux installed on a external SSD. I was trying with just a flash drive. I can make a live. That was not difficult. I don't know if that's doing any good. Um, Half the time it boots right into Windows. Half the time it gets to the menu to boot into the live. I I don't know. I, mm, I gave up trying to do it onto a flash drive. This is testing purposes only. I'm just trying to see if I want to buy a good external flash, SSD specific for the task. And so far, the answer is fuck that. Uh, it's not the Linux that's the problem. It's the fucking boot system does not want to cooperate. Um, when I install onto the flash drive from the live, like I'm in the live distro on another flash drive actually, and I create an install onto here with correct partitions and everything, you go to boot and it says there's no OS. Uh, yeah. I don't know. I don't know. I have my external SSD that I've been using for editing. I cleaned it off. I just cleaned out everything anyway. So it only had a few things on it. And I just transferred those to another drive and backed it up. And I'm like, I'll use it. I'll test this out. I've got a video already uploaded for tomorrow, which gives me a little grace period to try this out before I need that drive back. And luckily, my local Walmart has the drive that I would buy in stock. They've got the Samsung T7 500 gig drive, and for what I'm going to be using Linux for, I don't need a lot of storage. It's literally some programming projects. And I'm like, you know what? I'm fighting to do this in Windows when I could just do this in Linux, get refreshed on Linux. Like let's do this the way the whole thing was intended to be. Hello, Miss Kitty. Yes, hi. So yeah, I don't know what the fuck's going to happen with that. But I've given up for now. I will fight with it after the live. So that was the first part of the topic for the day. How are you guys? Since nobody's actually here, but whatever. Or at least it says nobody's here. Apparently, I've had people commenting, well, it said there was nobody here, so I don't fucking know. As you probably saw, if you are one of my subscribers and you watched my video from earlier today, the EU is talking about doing warrantless, no specific person, literally your instant messages, your private messages, any kind of electronic peer-to-peer messaging. They want to read it. They want to be able to scan it as it goes live. And I'm sorry, but that has so many shades of Nazi Germany, of early communist Russia, Chinese, Communist Party, North Korea. Like that's not even like Patriot Act level scary. That's just straight up, hey, all those privacy laws we passed, all those laws about, needing warrants for things, we're just going to throw that out the window. And what amazes me is that I saw that not as a, hey, they're rioting in the streets about this. It was just a little side article. Nothing big. I was honestly appalled. To me, that is the rough equivalent of them saying we're banning firearms. This is something that is worthy of serious protest. This is something where you get out in the streets with your signs and say, not happening. We're not happy, not going for it. You will be unelected. You will be removed from office. You will be put in prison. This is treason. And every member of the EU governing group that isn't saying no needs to be in prison. That is so far beyond the line of acceptable. Because even if you go, oh, it's just in the EU, well, guess what? All these messaging apps are international. It's not like there's a messaging app for the EU. So if they have to put in a back door to let the government monitor in the EU, you've opened it up to anybody, not just the government, but it's opening it up for hackers. It's the same reason Apple was like, no, we're not doing that. The same reason a whole lot of other apps have said, no, we're not doing that. It is a huge security loophole that you say you want it for this. The problem is if we give you access, we had to create access. And once you've created that loophole, somebody else is going to exploit it. So even if legally you say you have to do it, you have created a problem. You've created a security nightmare. I don't know. I mean, it applies to the US. It would apply in Asia. It would apply everywhere because the apps are not regional. For example, if you want access, if you use WhatsApp, common international messaging system, it's international. It's the same app. I use it, I don't use WhatsApp, but like I use it everywhere. You don't change apps because you move to a different city or country or region. It's the same thing. People in Korea are using the same app, just in a different language than, as people in Belgium, in France, in Italy, in Germany, in Russia. Like it's everywhere. And I don't know. I think that would be another one of those lines, just like, hey, we're banning guns. That would be the moment you go, over my dead body, and I'm not using it figuratively, kind of thing. In other news along the same lines, an interesting little revelation came out. A lawyer that does gun control stuff and has a channel about this, and I apologize, I cannot remember the name of it, and I don't have that computer handy right now, or I would go get the link. I will see if I can find it in my history and put it in the description later. But he did a whole monologue, and if you go, I apologize, his audio is fine, his video sucks. I think he was doing it on a really bad connection, and the syncing and the visual quality is lousy, and it seems to be the norm for him. But his audio is good, his content is good. And what he's saying is the Heller decision, Supreme Court Heller decision, says very clearly that the Second Amendment applies to the firearms in current common use, not historical, current day, meaning that if it is in current common use, gun control being applied to it is not going to fit with the Second Amendment. And that this category, this area of discussion must be looked at with strict scrutiny, which, if you combine those two, creates an interesting issue for the ATF and for the administration that wants to ban all sorts of guns. But more importantly, the ATF recently released a whole slew of documentation that they're required to do every time they update legislation, that they update anything. They basically have to say, this is what it does, this is why, this is what it's going to do, this is how it will affect things, blah, 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 blah. And it's a regular thing the government agencies have to do. Anytime they're making changes, they have to lay this out. And it's multiple hundreds of pages, but some key lines. I'm not going to quote, but he basically points out that at several points, they specifically say that the AR-15 is one of the most commonly purchased and used firearms in the nation. Yeah. So imagine that. Suddenly, you have a Supreme Court decision that says the Second Amendment directly applies and protects the firearms in common use. And then the ATF has said these firearms are in common use. The next time they try the sporting purposes or common use or anything like that argument when they go to ban things, it's going to get thrown back in their face. The ATF fucked up basically because the ATF probably was saying that as part of something trying to justify some more gun control, right? The ATF hasn't done anything pro-gun in a while. So yeah, that happened. That is relatively recent. I don't know exactly when it happened, but he was saying that this is just recent, and he was releasing that video a couple days ago. It was in my current feed. So he's not somebody I subscribe to. I probably should. He seemed to have a bunch of this kind of content. But he's kind of long-winded, and I know that sounds hysterical coming from me. But it was the kind of thing where I'm like, am I really going to watch all his videos, or should I just watch the ones somebody else suggests? We'll see. In other news, ammo prices are going up as much as 30 or 40% in the last week or so. If you haven't started buying, get it done. Start doing it. If you're looking for hunting ammo, even just for the coming hunting season this fall, do it. It's not going to get better. Personally, sorry, hiccups. I just ate dinner and I scarfed it down because I was running late for the live. Personally, I bought, I'm up like 1,000 rounds up on 9mm alone from where I was at my peak before the panic started, before the pandemic and all that, because I've been buying pre-election, and then the pandemic hit, and I was like, oh shit, keep buying. And then eventually, like, there was nothing available at prices I was willing to pay, and I'm like, I have enough. It'll be fine for now. 3 years later, I'm like, well, 2 years later, yeah. So yeah, I bought more, mostly 9mm, but I bought some other stuff, and I'm considering setting up the reloading gear in a temporary setup and spending a few days hardcore loading what I've got left that I didn't get loaded. I'd buy more, more stuff for 223 because I have bullets. I have powder. I have brass. I think I have brass. And I have primers. I don't think I have bullets, but I'm not sure. And I have to dig it all out and check. I have to figure it out. But if I don't have brass, obviously I wouldn't buy any bullets. But I think I have brass. I know I have 9mm brass. I know that I have some 300 blackout that I can load. Not a lot, but I could buy some bullets for that. And I would like to have more supersonic 300 blackout. I have a couple hundred rounds of the TAC TX, and then I have like another 300 rounds of hand load VMAX loads, and then another like 100 rounds of TAC TX hand loads. So it's that bullet at roughly the same velocity and all that jazz, but it's not a precise match. And I would like to like double that total with either the TAC TX bullet or the VMAX bullet. I'm not picky about it. This would be, use these last kind of thing. I just think my total round count is not as high as I would like in the bullet weight, charge, speed combination that I would like to be using as my primary. I have like 1,000 rounds of the PPU 125 or 124 grain stuff between hollow points and FMJs. But that's kind of my take it to the range and play ammo, not what I would like to be using for serious purposes. And while I consider that enough, it's not enough. It's not enough to be able to enjoy the rifle ongoing. That's where I'm at. And I would like to have more because I would like to keep shooting the rifle. And I haven't bought any 300 blackout in a while. I bought a couple boxes. And other than that, like, I don't think I'm buying any 6.5 Creedmoor. I put the 6.5 Grendel on hold. It is what it is, right? I mean, you can't get the freaking ammo for it. So I put the whole project on hold, and I'm like, 300 blackout, 6.5 Creedmoor, we'll just use whichever one is appropriate. Because if I'm doing any hunting or long range shooting, it doesn't have to be a higher rate of fire, which means I can use the bolt action. If the main difference there is the weight of the rifle, my 6.5 Creedmoor is a heavy rifle, like 12 pounds or something, 13 pounds, versus an AR-15 at 7 pounds, probably. So, is what it is. But anybody got a topic? Anything? I did not have anything prepared. I honestly got busy this morning with laundry, programming work, and the editing for the video, and the other video, because I put out a video this morning and then I edited the other video for Saturday. So anybody's got a topic, I'm game. Otherwise, we'll probably cut this off at half an hour. And I will continue drinking, continue swearing at my computer, trying to get that to work. Because that's the thing. Nothing? Come on. There's somebody there. There's at least one person there. I can see, right there on my screen. There's a little indicator that tells how many people and how many likes. And we've had a couple people come and go. We've got a like. We've got a thumbs up. I guess we'll keep going until somebody gives a topic. I was looking at my analytics. Yes, I was looking at my anal on the channel. And interesting stuff. My more popular videos, the viewing is very early on kind of an equal mix subscriber, non-subscriber on my more popular videos. On less popular videos, it's subscribers and then dies. Right. If you're like, oh yeah, I want to add this rifle in a caliber you don't already have, what the fuck do you do half the time? Like half the calibers out there are not available. It's ridiculous. We just got 243 in at work, and not a lot of it, but we hadn't had it in like 2 months. And sorry, hot chick went by. I know I'm bad, but like 270 has been available, 30-06 has been available, 308, 223, 9mm, 40, 45. And after that, it's like, well, we got some in, it went out. We got some in, it went out. But yeah, I really wanted to do that 6.5. I can't justify it with the way the ammo situation is, because I'm gonna spend $1,000 building an upper and getting a couple magazines. I mean, even for a basic upper, right? With 6.5, it's not cheap. There's no point in buying a cheap barrel. There's no point in putting a cheap rail on it. I mean, I already have the receiver, but by the time you're done, it's like $1,000. And then have 2 or 3 boxes of ammo. Like I think I've got 3 right now, maybe 4. I have to look if I ever bought the 4th. That's it. Like that's not enough. That's barely enough to freaking sight it in and have fun that day at the range for a few minutes, and then put it away and you're SOL. And okay, I'd buy the reloading stuff and I could reload those 80 cases. Yay, joy. I mean, even with my 357, which I don't shoot a lot of, 20 or 30 rounds at the range is about all I do normally. It's a little snub nose, right? I dry fire to keep trigger practice with it, but I don't actually shoot it nearly as often as I would like to. But even then, like I don't load less than 200 rounds for it. Like I'll shoot until I've got 200 cases cleared up, and then I'll reload that. And that's on, that thing that I do single stage press, slow process, just because there's no point in me setting up the Dillon for it. Speaking of the Dillon, I did right before I moved. I got the parts to load 9mm on my Dillon. So if I set that up, oh, excuse me. Oh. If I set that up, I can set up if I set up the reloading gear, I can set up the Dillon to do 9mm and crank out, 500 in an hour or so, which would be nice because I think I've got like 1,000 cases left, which is not a ton, but it's what's left over. And I think I have the bullets now because I think what happened is that I had intended to keep going and ran out. Sounds nice, Inspire the Wolf. I mean, I'm assuming you'd put a bipod on it and a appropriate optic, and it was a decent barrel because they don't make junk barrels in 223 Wild usually. But yeah, I mean, even an 18, I'm not convinced that 20 is really. By the time you are really seeing benefit from the 20, I kind of think you ought to be using the 308 or a 6.5 Creedmoor or even 6.5 Grendel, just because I think you're trying to reach further than the 223. Oh yeah. I mean, it'll plink at 1,000. I mean, if your goal is to hit steel, it'll do it at 1,000. It just the actual energy involved is minor when you get past 500 or 600. It's when people do a DMR build and they think they're going to be quote combat effective at like 700 or 800 yards, and you realize that at 700 or 800 yards it hits like a 22 long rifle. Like it's not. There's no impact left. It's not like you want to get shot with it, but it's not. It's not ballsy at that range. But yeah, for paper or steel, for having fun, absolutely out to 1,000, and in 500, sure, plenty of energy left. I mean, to me, yeah, hell yeah, because to me, 500 is about the limit of a 223, 5.56 rifle for there's enough energy to make it worthwhile. But if you're talking paper or steel, how far can your barrel reach? How far is it accurate enough to hit the target you want to, hit? How good is your optic? And can you hear it? If you're shooting steel, I mean, I went to a 308 and then a 6.5 Creedmoor for steel because half the time you can't hear it. If anybody else is shooting or anything out, like the wind's up or anything, you hit steel at 700 or 800 yards and you're like, did we hit? I can't tell. It was kind of nice when I did the suppressor because then I could hear it. But even then, barely. Admittedly, the steel at the range I normally shot at was not loud. It was relatively quiet stuff. But that was usually only a couple hundred yards. So I mean, you start going out 500 or 600. If it's quiet steel, cool, very cool. Not long. I did a Form 1 back. Oh, man, it's been a while. It's been like 6 years now, I think. But it wasn't bad. It was like 6-month wait, which was typical at the time. Like that was just how long it was taking for Form 1s. There was E-Forms was down. They had created it, taken it down, and then when it came back up, it was completely redone. But so everybody was doing paper forms, like even the even dealers and stuff were doing it by paper. So it was just backlogged. But it was like 6 months, and while I was waiting, I'd already picked out the parts. While I was waiting, I ordered all of my parts. I just didn't drill anything until I got the paperwork back, which was annoying because I also had done my SBR paperwork at the same time and had gotten the SBR engraved with the trust that I did for the suppressor, and then found out that, oh yeah, you can't transfer, even if you're the person on the trust, you can't transfer an AR in Connecticut to a trust because that's a transfer, and you can't transfer an AR in Connecticut. So the ATF came back with a little note saying, just do this as an individual rather than the trust, and you're fine. So I had to resubmit the paperwork, and that was like another 3 months on top. So I had a suppressor, but I had to use it on the full length gun, which was very annoying because that was not how I wanted to shoot that. And I was leaving my SBR upper, in the sleeve in a locked area at work, a secure area at work, because I couldn't have that and my rifles in the same place because obviously constructive intent. I didn't need the hassles if anything happened. So yeah, it was these days. I don't know. I think it's pretty quick if they're not auto denying. I've heard that they're basically auto denying Form 1s, but if you're not doing a Form 1, I've heard it's pretty quick. And I've heard that they're using the auto denial on the Form 1 as we're just assuming you're pre-buying parts and doing this, which is illegal. So we're just telling you this is illegal and then telling you to fuck off, which is a violation of their own rules, but nobody holds the ATF accountable. So they do whatever the fuck they want. I'm going to laugh my ass off the day the ATF finally gets bitch slapped in court for violating their own regulations, their own laws. And hopefully it's in Congress, like the ATF director, when they finally get a real one, is forced to stand up in Congress and either perjure himself or herself or outright admit that they have been committing treason, that they have been violating the Second Amendment of everybody in the country. I will absolutely throw a friggin' party. Yeah, I don't know. I would say that I invite all the gun crew. I shouldn't say guys because there's girls involved, but the entire gun crew from work and everybody else I know in the area to a party and celebrate the ATF getting bitch slapped. But ironically enough, we don't need the hassle because even if we did that, we'd then get an ATF inspection and audit and all that if they heard about it. So probably not a good plan because I do work for an FFL. And ironically, I would probably have the party at the Black Rifle Coffee here in Bernie, which is owned by and attached to a gun store. It's not owned by the gun store, but like the same people own it. So I imagine there's like a corporation that owns corporations, but they're not stupid. They own a bunch of stuff. So I'm assuming it's all in corporation layers, but still, like they don't need that hassle. So, but hey, we can have a pool party here. The apartment pool, as long as I'm physically there, I can have guests. And by the way, this is Woodford Reserve. Let me go get the bottle. Make sure I'm not running over the cat. Be right back. So this is Woodford Reserve. I've only had a little, guys. I promise. Woodford Reserve Double Oaked. Double oaked, 90 proof, Kentucky straight bourbon whiskey, finished in a second oak barrel. This was a present when I moved from Connecticut to Texas from a dear friend of mine, well, friends, married couple. And I have been sipping very lightly from it over the last year. Yes, the feline is being very brave because I have been trying to brush her all day while I've been home between errands and everything. And she likes to hang out by my desk. I have a Ruggables circular rug thing that she likes to scratch on it because it's almost indestructible. And Here. So she hangs out right there, which is conveniently to get stepped on or run over if she has her tail out when I move my chair. But I don't know if it was in frame, but the brush is right there because every time she was coming by, I would grab the brush and work on her for a bit because it's getting hot as hell here in Texas and she has been shedding everywhere. We're going to have some more whiskey. It's been one of those days. And so every time she comes by, I brush her, and she doesn't like being brushed, really. She's not a huge fan of that. And by the way, the way I drink this is a splash. I'm not cutting it significantly, but a splash of water. Oh, that was actually more than I intended. Sorry. Um, but literally just a 20-to-1 ratio, say, and works great. The Woodford Reserve, it's very stringent, strong taste, very bitey, um, and I like it. But if you don't open it up with a little water, it's almost too much. And I mean, everybody's got their own taste, right? For me, that's how I like it. I do the same thing with what do you call it? Not Angel's Envy. Angel's Envy, I drink straight or over ice. Widow Jane is my other biggie that I drink if I'm drinking decent whiskey. And I'll drink that with a splash of water. Angel's Envy, it's sweet enough and it's not bitey enough that I don't bother cutting it. I just put it over a little ice. Like I'd put 1 cube in here and I would put this much whiskey in it several times with the same cube. And then I have the complete crap that I drink, Wild Turkey American Honey, that I will drink basically as liquid candy. It is so sweet, so honeyish. It's not like a lot of the other honey whiskeys where there's like a hint of honey. It tastes like you fermented honey. Like you basically created alcoholic honey. And I'll drink that straight, but it's super sweet. But I'll like if I'm gonna drink a lot of something, it's usually that. Because honestly, this stuff or any other good whiskey, after your first like drink or two, you're wasting your money. So, oh, she has wandered off. She's figured out she's not going to get any attention. Um, so, anybody have any questions? Anything? Because we still got people here. Um, Douglas, if you ever watch this, you need to get in touch with me. Get me an address. This is sitting here waiting to go out. He has not replied. And I know that he a lot of times does not get notifications. He has actually commented that I post a video. He's subscribed. He's got the bell on, everything. He doesn't get the notifications. YouTube hides them. So, Douglas, get in touch. If you see this, get me an address. I commented to your comment in that video, the P320 Glock video, not the giveaway video, the P320 Glock video that you commented on, which was how you were supposed to enter to do the giveaway. That ironically, I've forgotten that Joe is not domestic. He's not in the U.S., so he actually wasn't eligible. But his name was in there. I only had the 2 names, and luckily, the person who is eligible actually won. Or I would have had to be like, "Oops, sorry." So yeah, because if I remember correctly, Joe is somewhere in either Central America or South America. I can't remember. Till then, till what? Till when? You got me confused, man. I guess he was saying he was leaving. Well, in that case, it appears my last person has left. If anybody doesn't, somebody doesn't comment in the next few seconds, I'm going to end this live stream and get back to work because I have work tomorrow and I want to get this figured out tonight. And I also need to make a thumbnail for the video that goes out Saturday. But I might do that tomorrow. If you haven't noticed, I'm trying to make the thumbnails a little more obnoxious. It's not really my style, but it gets views. It is what it is. Interestingly, my video from this morning on the EU going full Nazi, I'm pretty sure that got shadow banned because it has 24 views. 24. I get more views than that if I post a video saying good morning. I'm not a big view channel. Like I'm sure as hell not a demo ranch. I'm not even, an AK guy. But like just my subscriber base gets more views on a video than that. Keep in mind the 1,500 subscribers, only like 100 people actually give a shit. Like I'm convinced the other 1,400 don't exist, but I'll take it because very often my videos, like I was talking about the analytics earlier, it goes up on a popular video, not one that is total shit. The subscribers and non-subscriber viewing goes up together. And then the non-subscriber keeps going. Usually it shallows out and keeps going. While the subscribers, it drops. And then you'll see a couple blips here or there as people get around to it. But for the most part, by the end of day 1 or 2, all of my subscribers that are going to watch the video have watched. And then it's non-subscribers over time, search terms, categories they found the channel, that kind of thing. And what that tells me is that if you're watching this and you're not a freaking subscriber, subscribe. Come on, let's go, get it done. But it also tells me that of my 1,500 subscribers, most people are not watching because most of my videos don't get 1,500 views. It's 50 or so views from subscribers and then hundreds from non-subscribers. So honestly, I hate to say it, but if you're a subscriber and you don't watch my videos, I would rather you unsubscribe so that I know how many people are actually interested subscribers. That sounds horrible and it's counterintuitive because like you would think you would want more subscribers. But in my case, I'm not monetizing on YouTube. I did Patreon. Nobody has signed up. But that's the route I'm going to go. I'm not going to monetize through YouTube anytime soon. It's not my plan to do it. I'm just not going to say that I'm never going to do it. So that means that I would rather have a realistic number of how many people are interested. Because I don't expect that everybody who's a subscriber watches every video. Obviously you have different interests, you watch different videos. But rather than me having to go through every video and go like subscribers, non-subscribers, it'd be handy. Just saying. Okay, nobody has said anything. We are closing it out. Cheers to anybody watching this later. You're awesome for watching it later. Please subscribe if you are not a subscriber. We do this every Thursday night, whenever I can, which is almost every Thursday night. My boss is very helpful by giving me Thursdays off. But if not, I will do it either the Wednesday before or the Friday after. Very rare that I would work all 3 days in the evening. So almost always 7 o'clock Central because I'm in Texas, and 7 o'clock lets me get dinner at a normal hour, get ready, do the live, and get to bed at a reasonable hour because usually I run longer. This is 40 minutes and not an hour, and usually I run an hour and then I've got things to do. So anyway, ciao.